The holographic projection flickered to life in the command center of the Resolute, humanity's flagship dreadnought. Theodore stood at attention, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as the faces of the Galactic Council materialized before him. 12 species, each representing centuries of civilization, stared down at the human commander with expressions ranging from concern to barely concealed contempt. "Commander Theodore," began High Arbiter Xaxthara, her crystalline features refracting the blue light of the transmission. "The Council has reviewed your species' recent military actions in the Kepler Expanse. We hereby order an immediate cessation of all hostile activities." Theodore's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. Beside him, Paisley shifted her weight, her fingers dancing across the tactical display with practiced efficiency. The young lieutenant had been monitoring enemy movements for the past 72 hours without rest, her sharp eyes catching patterns the Council's analysts had missed entirely. "The Krell Dominion has filed a formal complaint," continued another Council member, a four-armed Vexian whose translator rendered his clicks and whistles into flat, emotionless standard. "They claim your forces have violated 17 interstellar treaties regarding proportional response." A bitter smile crossed Theodore's face. "Proportional response," he echoed, his voice carrying the weight of 1,000 battlefield decisions. "Tell me, counselors, what's the proportional response to the glassing of New Sarajevo? To the 3 million colonists who were vaporized while your council debated proper diplomatic channels?" The holographic chamber fell silent. Paisley glanced up from her console, meeting Theodore's eyes briefly. She'd lost family on New Sarajevo. They both had. Everyone on the Resolute had lost someone. "Commander, we understand your grief," Zwaxthara said, her tone softening marginally. "But humanity must understand that galactic warfare operates under established rules. The Krell have agreed to pay reparations." "Reparations?" Theodore's voice cracked like a whip. "They're offering credits for lives. Minerals for memories. And you expect us to simply accept that? We expect you to behave as civilized members of the galactic community," the Vexian interjected. "Your species is young, Commander. You've been spacefaring for barely 2 centuries. The Krell Dominion has existed for millennia. Their ways, while perhaps harsh by your standards, are accepted practice in accepted practice." Paisley interrupted, her voice steady but laced with steel. She'd abandoned her console, stepping forward into the projection field. "Counselor, with respect, I've analyzed the Krell's tactical doctrine over the past 200 years. Do you know how many species they've practice attacked? 17. And do you know how many of those species still exist?" She paused, letting the silence hang heavy. 3. The rest were deemed unworthy of continuation and systematically eliminated. The Council members exchanged glances. It was clear this information made them uncomfortable, but not surprised. They'd known. They'd always known. Theodore nodded to Paisley, pride evident in his expression. She'd been his protege for 5 years, and moments like these reminded him why. "Lieutenant Commander Paisley has identified something your council seems to have overlooked," he continued. "The Krell don't see this as a war. They see it as pest control. And your established rules have enabled them to exterminate species after species while you all looked the other way. That is a gross mischaracterization," one of the council members began. "Is it?" Theodore cut him off. "Then tell me why the council's response to New Sarajevo was to schedule a committee meeting 3 months from now? Why the Krell ambassador still sits on your council while human civilians are still dying? Why you're here ordering us to stand down instead of demanding the Krell face justice?" Zyxthara's crystalline form seemed to dim. "Commander, you must understand the delicate balance of galactic politics. The Krell possess significant military might. A full-scale confrontation would destabilize. You're afraid of them," Paisley stated flatly. "The entire council is terrified of the Krell, so you've spent centuries appeasing them, sacrificing smaller species to keep the peace. You've become so accustomed to the comfort of your stability that you've forgotten what it means to actually stand for something." The Vexian's translation turned his response harsh and clipped. "Humans have always been impulsive, emotional creatures. This is precisely why your admittance to the council was provisional. You lack the maturity for, we lack the maturity?" Theodore's laugh was devoid of humor. "We've been in space for 200 years, and in that time, we've colonized 43 worlds, developed faster-than-light technology independently, and built a fleet that your own military analysts admit is more advanced than anything you've fielded in the last millennium. All while you were busy holding committee meetings about which species deserved basic protection. He stepped forward, his face inches from the holographic projection. You want to know what makes humanity different, counselors? It's not our technology or our tactics. It's that we remember. We remember every slight, every injustice, every life taken. And we don't forgive easily. Paisley pulled up a new display on the central screen. Star charts bloomed across the hologram, showing Krell positions throughout the sector. As of 0600 hours this morning, human forces have successfully liberated 4 Krell-occupied worlds, destroyed 17 of their command carriers, and established blockades around their primary supply routes. Their military infrastructure is currently operating at 37% capacity and dropping. You've been busy, Zhuangxtara observed, her tone unreadable. We've been effective, Theodore corrected. And we're not stopping. Not for your ceasefire, not for your political games, not until the Krell answer for what they've done. Then you leave us no choice, the Vexian declared. The Council will be forced to impose sanctions, to cut off trade routes. To do it, Theodore interrupted. Humanity has survived ice ages, world wars, and near-extinction events. We've clawed our way up from caves to the stars. Your sanctions don't frighten us, Counselor. They just remind us that when it matters, we can only count on ourselves. Paisley added quietly. Besides, several Council species have already reached out through back channels. They're offering support, medical supplies, intelligence, even ships. Turns out we're not the only ones tired of the Krell's reign of terror. We're just the first ones willing to do something about it. The Council members erupted into simultaneous arguments, their various languages creating a cacophony even the translators struggled to parse. Theodore and Paisley waited, watching the alleged leaders of galactic civilization descend into chaos. Finally, Zhuangxtara raised a crystalline hand, calling for silence. Commander Theodore, Lieutenant Commander Paisley, the Council will reconvene to discuss this matter. However, I must emphasize that your current course of action will continue, Theodore finished. With or without your approval, counselors. Humanity didn't ask for this war, but will finish it. You've spent centuries managing galactic affairs through diplomacy and compromise. That's admirable, truly. But sometimes, diplomacy fails. Sometimes, the only language tyrants understand is force. He straightened his uniform, his voice carrying absolute conviction. You ordered us to cease fire. We respectfully decline. You see, counselors, we're not stopping. We're just getting warmed up. The transmission ended abruptly, the holograms dissolving into motes of light. Theodore turned to find his entire bridge crew watching him. Young faces, old faces, human faces that had seen too much loss in too short a time. But in every eye, he saw the same thing. Determination. Paisley returned to her station, her fingers already plotting their next strike. Sir, should I prepare contingencies in case the Council attempts to interfere militarily? Theodore considered for a moment, then shook his head. They won't. They're too afraid of both us and the Krell to choose a side. That's their weakness. He looked around at his crew. Ours is that we care too much. But I'll take our weakness over theirs any day. As the Resolute prepared to jump to the next target, Theodore allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. Humanity had entered the galactic stage as wide-eyed explorers, eager to learn from their elder species. They'd been naive, perhaps, but no longer. The galaxy had taught them a harsh lesson. That civilization without courage was just comfortable cowardice. That rules without justice were chains on the innocent. That sometimes, the newcomers had to show the old guard what they'd forgotten. The stars beckoned, and humanity answered. Not with diplomacy, not with committees, but with the same fierce determination that had always defined them. They were young, yes. Impulsive, perhaps. But they were awake in a galaxy that had been sleeping far too long, and they were just getting warmed up.